Well, the goal of this one is to not only get the win, but for all of us to just simply stay not sick. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers pregame show live from the Xfinity Mobile Studio. I'm Devon along with Rich, our guy Ethan in for Bree, and everybody's sick. Not Bree, not Derek, not Kyle, not Ethan, not Rich, not Roy. We're all good. But everybody in the Sixers apparently has the locker room bug. We'll get to that shortly. It's the last game, home game of the 2025 calendar year. And we also have to talk about, since Rich wasn't with us on Saturday, we got to talk about the dynamic duo as it continues with Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, even though Edgecombe is one of the players that is out tonight, Rich, with this bug. We'll get to our pregame picks a little bit later as we are presented by Bet365, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. When you sign up, make sure you use code PHLY365. Rich, everybody's sick, man. Everybody is sick.
Everybody is sick, man. It's, I don't know. Dude, it's, I guess it's that time of year, sometimes it's the holiday season. I would like somebody, an enterprising reporter, and by the way, we have two of them who are there at Sixers games and practices. I would like somebody to at least trace, how this happened, because when I was on the beat, I remember there was a famous time when JJ Redick got Joel Embiid sick, and Joel Embiid told everybody how it happened and how JJ Redick got him sick and how the germs spread because they just said hello one time in the locker room. It feels like this one, like most things with the Sixers, started with Tyrese Maxey, got to Joel Embiid, and now you have three guys sick tonight. You have three like real guys, three of your probably 6 or 7 best players in VJ Edgecombe, Dominic Barlow, and Quentin Grimes. Yep. They're also out, in addition to Kelly Oubre as well. So yeah, man, it's happy Festivus to you, but it's right. Going to be a weird one tonight for sure. Where look, I think the Sixers, they're going to have enough guys to field a competent rotation. We might see some double big lineups tonight. We might see some extra small backcourt lineups tonight. So it's going to be a little bit weird because we're missing 3 of those guys who play those 2, 3, 4 positions. But yeah, I mean, this bug has really done a number on the Sixers this holiday season.
Yep. So as Rich pointed out, and I was lucky enough to not have to be in the locker room like Rich, where all those guys were sick in the past, where JJ Redick gets Joel sick and all of that. So just to make it clear for everyone who does not know, again, Rich just laid out a few. So VJ Edgecombe out, also out, Dominic Barlow and Quentin Grimes. That's already with the usual 2 that have been out because of injury, Kelly Oubre and Trendon Watford. So you have 5 rotational players that are out tonight. As Rich said, some real guys out tonight, 2 starters, and your 6th man out because of injury tonight. That being said, Rich, you do get Joel Embiid and Paul George back in the lineup for this final home game of the 2025 season. Tyrese Maxey is also in the lineup, along with some of the others, Jabari Walker, Jared McCain, Andre Drummond, Adem Bona, Justin Edwards. And you can look at the second-round pick in Janai Broome and Hunter Salas, Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry. That right there off the top, it seems that's the 12 that you have available to you tonight against this Nets team that is now up to 8 wins. They just had a nice win in their last outing. So they're still a bit of a, you better win this game, but you still have 3 all-star level players where you should be able to get this done against this Nets team. But man, is this really hitting the Sixers hard? And Terrence Knight says, don't worry, everybody. Don't worry. Don't believe them. It's a free rest game against this Nets team tonight with get these guys some rest.
Well, it definitely was. Whether or not it's real, I'm going to assume it's real. I'm going to assume they're not missing these games on purpose. But Tyrese Maxey, when he was sick, he certainly used the rest well, and he came back over the weekend against the Knicks and then against the Mavs. Looked like Tyrese Maxey, which is a guy who's probably going to get MVP votes this season so far. Hopefully, Joel Embiid, after missing this weekend with his illness, and by the way, with Joel, whether it's a team-wide bug or something else, he's always sick, like for like 1 week per year. So if he can come back and actually show that he's fresh and ready to go after missing a few games this week as well, that would be big. So yeah, I mean, look, these guys are going to get some time off. Is it the worst thing in the world that VJ Edgecombe gets off his feet? No, but he probably is dealing with some sort of bad stomach bug right now, and he would prefer that not to happen. So yeah, it'll in practice be a free sort of rest game for them. Like you said, it's a game they still should win.
They should.
They should.
Yeah.
I will say, I looked at Brooklyn. I'm not watching every second of Brooklyn Nets basketball. Their defense, which was a joke at the beginning of the year, I mean, they've held 2 opponents to the 80s the last few games.
Yep.
The 80s might as well, like 10 years ago, the 80s, they might as well have been holding teams to 60 points a few years ago. Like, seriously, that is a very small number nowadays. So tricky game for sure. It's a bummer. I guess the big bummer is after VJ and Maxey have those 2 crazy games, they get a few days off. Feels like a team that they should hammer and do some pretty cool stuff against. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Just not going to be able to get them, but still, like you said, Joel's playing. We think, at least, he's probable with the illness. I'm sure he's probably going to give it a go. PG is playing. There's still plenty here. It's going to be the 3, right? It's going to be Maxey, Joel, and PG.
Yeah, and we've seen already, Rich, where we've seen games where it has been those 3. And yes, you may have had VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, and Dominic Barlow in the lineup. You should still be able to get this one done with the healthy bodies that you do have there with George, who last time we saw him, by the way, he had a 2 for 10 scoring offensive night. So needs to rebound from that. And while he gives you the defense and the other things that he gives you, the passing as well, he's now your second or third primary scorer for this team tonight, where Edgecombe and Grimes in those roles, it's him. It's him that you're going to need those scoring opportunities from tonight with Joel and Tyrese Maxey. So I would hope with that and the rest that Joel has had, even though he was sick. Guess what? When Tyrese Maxey was sick, what did he do against the New York Knicks? He just came back and dropped 30+ on the New York Knicks for a road win. So Joel Embiid, you come back and maybe you should post some positive, solid numbers tonight against this team. Also, Nic Claxton, athletic, as we know, can give him some problems because of the rim running and the athleticism. He has the experience of playing against Joel Embiid, so the timing in which he had to do before because of Joel Embiid's explosion with the way that he would score and do things. Nic Claxton is a smart defender, so he knows how to play against Joel Embiid. And you're going to have to account for Michael Porter Jr., who we know can fill it up at any given time. So it's not going to be a cakewalk. You said the defense is improving. Jordy Fernandez has this team playing really well, and they all know their roles. And with no Cam Thomas there and all of that, you know where the scoring is coming from. And they have some other players, rotational players and other role players that, as I pointed out, they know their roles, so they'll be ready to go against the Sixers team tonight. And Sixers took care of business against them the last time that they saw them. So they're just trying to, in their own locker room, do something and improve day by day by day, game by game for the Brooklyn Nets. The Sixers, they're in a different class. They need to make sure that despite having 5 rotational players out, 2 of which are starters right now, well, 3 if you want to include Kelly Oubre and how you want to talk about the starting lineup for the Sixers, this is where we talk about, hey, yes, you have something going against you right now. You are shorthanded, but you still have more than enough, and you are a better basketball team. And yes, good basketball teams can lose to bad basketball teams on any given night in the NBA. But as you're trying to continue to prove things to yourself and get these games and get these wins, 17-11 would look pretty darn good after a shorthanded night against the Brooklyn Nets at home.
Couple questions for you. Do we see 2 big lineups tonight? So that means, Jabari Walker seems like the obvious guy that's like an actual 4, but you also can play Paul George at the 4 as well. Maybe Justin Edwards. That's been a guy that Nick Nurse has liked deploying as well. Do we see any minutes? Let's say, let's not include blowout minutes, because maybe we see, Bona and Drummond if they're up 25 at the end of the game during the competitive portion of the game. And that means 2 of Embiid, Bona, or Drummond.
It's a good question. I would say yes, because I think he's going to want to put some of his best players out there. So if it's an Andre Drummond How long are you talking? Are you talking extended
I'm talking
time?
just for a couple minutes.
Because we saw recently where it kind of just flew by the radar, where Joel and Andre Drummond were out there on the floor and nobody really
Atlanta
talked
game
about
last
it.
week.
Yeah, right. Nobody really talked
remember?
about
I mean,
it.
they
So
played
I would say
Joel
yes.
and Drummond together. They also played Lowry in that stretch where they played a 2-3 zone for about 3 minutes. It was the longest 3 minutes of the Sixers season, in my opinion, just because it was such a goofy lineup.
Right.
They had a 2-3 zone, and the back line was Embiid, Drummond, and Lowry. So
Right.
I don't know. Maybe we see that. That's
yes
part of it.
To your question.
Yeah, I think we see it for maybe the same amount of time, maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So that'll be fun. It'll either go great or probably terribly, and we'll have something to talk about after the game one way or another. The other question I have for you, because you look, the whole season has been, oh no, the Sixers, they, how do they handle these 4 guards? They have 4 guards that are all playing well and have an argument for a lot of minutes. You're down VJ and Grimes, 2 guys who play 30 plus minutes. Jared McCain had at least a better weekend in terms of, how the team performed with him on the floor, right? Like, wasn't like, crazy scoring for him by any means. Feel like you got to give him 30 plus tonight.
I think so. I
Close?
think it just plays out that way. Justin Edwards, who hasn't been shooting the ball all that great, sure he'll get his number called. But Jared McCain, to your point, he's been in the last 2 weekends, as you said, he's been in the closing lineup for both games against the Knicks and the last game that they won as well. So look, the opportunity has been there. He has shown himself to play well. Nick Nurse talked about while his scoring, look, his numbers were like 4 for 10, but he was playing well overall. So Nick Nurse, what we've been talking about, giving him that quick hook when things aren't going right, 13 minutes. He's extending it now to 20, 25 minutes in these closing lineups. And it's good to see because he is rewarding him for the way that he is playing. And Jared McCain is also not just the scoring, giving you 5 rebounds, giving you 5 assists in these outings too, where he's digging in there and he's working hard, playing tough against the opposing team, which you need if your shot is not falling. Do all the other stuff. And tonight they're going to need that when you're missing 2 players in particular in VJ Edgecombe and Dominic Barlow, who do all the small things to get things going. So real quick, let's take our first break here on the show. Theo came in and asks, who's out? Well, who's out? Since you and some of the others just got in, VJ Edgecombe, Dominic Barlow, Quentin Grimes are all out. They are joining Trendon Watford and Kelly Oubre on the bench. And Joel Embiid and Paul George are in along with Tyrese Maxey. So that's who you have. We ran down the rest of the players that should be available tonight for Nick Nurse's team against the Brooklyn Nets. Edgecombe, Barlow, Grimes out, Embiid, George in. We come back. We got to talk about the dynamic duo, though, with Rich because he missed the weekend games. And I wanted to get Rich's thoughts on the 2 games that Rich mentioned where Maxey came back and he and Edgecombe looked fantastic together and what this means going forward. We'll talk about some things that maybe we saw all year from last season as the calendar year from January 1, 2025 to where we are about to reach the final home game here of 2025. Rich and I's last show together, maybe a little flashback of maybe some things that stood out to us during the calendar year for the Philadelphia 76ers. And, of course, our picks. We'll do it all. It's the Sixers pregame show presented by Bet365 Sixers Nets. We're discussing it right here. And everybody, it's time for the Bet365. Never ordinary. You know what it is. It's never, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. The bug is floating through the locker room right now. It's never ordinary with the Sixers, but if you're still feeling pretty good that they can go out there and get it done, guess what? You can go to Bet365 as one of the 90 million users worldwide to place your bets on tonight's game against the Brooklyn Nets. How are you feeling about Tyrese Maxey? He's going to hit his 30 as usual, drop a couple of threes. Paul George going to bounce back and get close to 20 points, 5 and 5 on the night. What about Joel? What's his numbers going to look like? Well, you can live in-game bet as well. So if you don't like what you may place earlier, before the game, before tip-off, you can see how the game is playing out. Maybe wait till halftime. Bang, live in-game betting, something that Bet365 has pioneered. They also have the holiday gift-giving thing that they have going on where they give you a gift every day. It's the holiday hot streak from December 20th to the 31st. And today, You deposit $10, you automatically, you place a bet for $10, you get $10 back from Bet365. How about that? But you have to do it on a 3-leg same game parlay at Bet365. If you love it and you say, you know what, I'm not signed up with Bet365, new customers, breaking news. All you have to do is get $150 in bonus bets. When you deposit $10, place a bet for $5, you get $150 in bonus bets. That's win or lose. That's correct. Win or lose. And that's all right there at Bet365. The bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, I'm actually going to wait for the post-game show to tell you about Derek Bodner's what a mess his holiday party was. But that's a little tease for a little later. He was pumped to watch some basketball, and I got into more detail later, I'm telling you. But his setup, it was a total mess. Lagging, buffering, and switching between apps trying to find the game. He claimed he was a big fan, but everyone at that party felt like they were fan-fished. See, if you call yourself a basketball fan, you got to have our friends at Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. I can find the best games and my favorite teams all in one place. And the way that I watch, it is next level. It's the perfect fan flex. I've got all the action right there in my living room. Plus, Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K, so clear, it feels like I'm in Xfinity Mobile Arena. And sometimes I've got 4 games going at once because why not? On top of that, I get real-time notifications and live stats right there on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every single time. So next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers pregame show. Rich, Devon, Ethan, and for Bree here today. All of you, we appreciate it as always. Let's get to a super chat that we do have here from our good friend Rich Devon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, as we get ready to talk about the young guards. It says the new Flight brothers. AI is now Maxey. Larry Hughes. That's VJ Edgecombe. Who's Tim Thomas in this trio of the Flight brothers? Great question.
What did Tim Thomas have to do with the Flight brothers?
Well, he was the young guy on that team before they traded him. He was the one that was the third. He was the other part of the last pick, but then they traded him. But he was athletic and can run the floor and get up and all that stuff. So is it Barlow right now?
Man, I don't want Tim Thomas to be catching strays because I don't even identify him as a Flight brother. That was strictly AI and Larry Hughes.
Very true. But just for the question, I was thinking about it.
Tim Thomas and Barlow, man, you cannot pick two different styles of players between those two guys. Yeah.
I'm only putting this together as somebody who can catch an alley-oop. Right?
Totally. I think the idea of Allen Iverson, which is just Maxey with the gravity and the guy who is really at the top of every scouting report for the defense and, basically has to make it happen on an incredible number of possessions. And then his athletic running mate in VJ, who's shown a little more promise than Larry Hughes overall, but Larry Hughes pretty good at catching those baseline dunks from Allen Iverson. That was definitely a fun time. So I like that, Davon. And I think if we get some more alley-oops between those guys, we've already seen a few of those this year. Yeah, I think like the Flight brothers or like the Flight brothers part 2, or I don't know. We need to workshop it, but I think the idea of honoring the legacy of those two guys, yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. Okay. I mean, I was disappointed in Tim Thomas like most people were, but hey, man, Dominic Barlow, for the role that he has, he's played pretty well. Appreciate the super chat. All right, let's talk about the two guys there, Rich, and the focus of the Flight brothers. Of course, that would be Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. Of course, many people call him VJ Max affectionately because of the work that they do in the backcourt. It is clearly, just the improvement that VJ has had over these last couple of games, from when we saw the great start, the wall that he had hit, and then coming back here now where Maxey goes out, he elevates his game with George and Embiid on the floor. And then when Maxey returns, he just continues to go and just continues to give us a glimpse of what the future is going to look like. And maybe the future is already here.
Yeah, I mean, what a fun couple games you guys had over the weekend, and I think this stretch of 4 games for VJ, where I mean, just starting with the Pacers game, it's awesome against the Hawks. Then I think the coming out party though in Madison Square Garden, particularly the end of that game where Tyrese Maxey is getting doubled by the Knicks, and like, look, the Knicks, that was a bit of a schedule win for the Sixers for sure. They've had schedule losses too. It all evens out over the year, but the Knicks just trying to get the ball out of Tyrese Maxey's hands, making VJ Edgecombe beat them. And he said, okay, cool, I'll beat you. And, honestly, man, that putback dunk that he got after watching the Knicks, watching all of those players, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, all of those guys over this last 3 years where the Knicks have pretty much owned the Sixers, if we're going to be honest, watch those guys just beat the Sixers to every rebound and every loose ball. And they're still doing it. They still rebounded very well in that game for the most part. But for VJ Edgecombe,
almost like a plus 20 in that game still.
Yes. Sixers did a good job with the turnovers. They helped the possession battle. Look, the Knicks do that to everybody. Mitchell Robinson especially does that to everybody. You know that. So that's I'm not even saying it's a Knicks thing specifically, but to see that play where Josh Hart is watching, a few other guys are watching, VJ gets the putback dunk. It's like the idea that you're able to fight fire with athleticism and stamina at the end of the game. VJ Edgecombe is still performing at a very high level. He's not tiring. He's still ready to go in that fourth quarter. It was just nice to be like, oh man, the Sixers have a guy who can play this style of hoops now, who can get them a greasy bucket at the end of the game. Just something doing the dirty work, even though he makes it look cool with the putback dunk. And then to follow it up the next night, I gotta say, man, that's a nice win over Dallas. I know Dallas, not a very good record, not a very good offensive team. Had most of their guys available. They were rested and ready to go. And after a very difficult, taxing game the night before, those two guys were yet again awesome. VJ has the awesome stretches with Tyrese off the floor, which has not been the case the entire year. So really just like a lot of fun from those two guys this weekend. I think you have to be really excited about where VJ is because, look, the first 4 or 5 games of the year, there was a question of like, okay, he's very talented, but did he catch the NBA by surprise a little bit? Like, what's going to happen when teams adjust to him and they have more film of him in NBA games? He slowed down for about a month or so. He was still doing a lot of really positive stuff. Like, I think that Warriors game is the perfect example where, I think he turned the ball over 4 or 5 times, but he's on the court at the end of the game because he's the guy who can get the steal for you. He's the guy who can get the putback for you at the end of the game. But to see him after getting a couple weeks off, and I think that was the key here. I think he was just fatigued, man. He's playing 38 minutes, a game, not 38, but close, like mid 30s and playing every single game. This NBA Cup break, he comes back after getting a little bit of time off. And these last 4 games have been dominant. He's scoring in the high 20s. He's taking over the offense. He's running pick and roll. He's doing all this cool stuff. So really, really encouraging stuff from VJ. I think we knew already that the Sixers had a guy, but this is just another piece of evidence that we don't know exactly what he's going to be. That's going to be the fun part over the next few years, watching him, because there's still so many things he can do to get better, but they got a dude. He is very legit, and to pair him up with Tyrese Maxey is really exciting.
Yeah, and again, you have the mixture of youth with the older guys, with Paul George and Joel Embiid, and then you have those junkyard dogs that'll help you with some of the other small things throughout the season, like Barlow and some of these other players, Jabari Walker, that will do all the little things to help you win basketball games. Nice formula right now for this basketball team. Rich, they're 16-11, and after last night's game, I think, if I had it correctly, because I think they were 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Boston did win, so they were 4th. So all the stuff that we have been talking about, man, they're still right there. We said they were going to be in the mix, but we weren't quite sure the up and down nature of where they would be in the seeding. And I know Al would yell at me right now if he said, stop talking about the seeding. It's not just that. It's that they're 5 games above 500, where we kept saying, right, can they get back to 5 games above 500? And they have. And this is a prime opportunity here tonight against New York, to Brooklyn, to pick up another, go 6 games over 500 before you hit the road for 4 games going into the new year before you are back home. And they could use these because the schedule gets tougher in January. Yes, February is what February is. You get a break for the All-Stars, about 10 days off with it. But you're going to have two guys that are there in Maxey and Edgecombe participating in All-Star and the rookie sophomore game. You're going to have that. Everybody else gets to rest. That's why it continues to be important right now that they make sure that they handle their business. So when we discuss the Brooklyn Nets, it's not a joke. They need to continue, as we say, to pile up those wins, which will be very helpful for them in the long run. And these two guys are driving it.
Look, it's been up and down. There have been moments like every season where there's been, a few low moments, that Orlando game in particular. But man, we're basically at the 1/3 mark of the year, 27 games, 82, not divisible by 3. But so we're pretty much there. I'm thrilled with how they're playing. I mean, every game
Absolutely
is close. Maxey has taken a step to, borderline MVP level. VJ, you hit on that pick. Daryl, in terms of what he did this offseason with the limited resources, I mean, Dominic Barlow's not playing tonight, but I think he's got to be the best two-way guy in the league right now. Like the bang for your buck on that one. And you know who's not too far behind him? Tonight's starting power forward, Jabari Walker, as well. Like he's a pretty good player. So obviously, like, you're going to probably need a little bit more from Joel and PG as you move along, and hopefully Jared McCain starts to right the ship a little bit. But man, the overall product, I feel great about it, man. They play close games every single night. They have a chance to get to 17-11 tonight. Yeah, you said it. The schedule's going to get a little bit tougher, but they're banking these wins, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'm feeling pretty darn good about the Sixers right now, just in terms of where the franchise is going long term, and the product we're seeing on the court. And a lot of that boils down to Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. So
it really does, man.
Spot.
They're really in a good spot, and as you said, the schedule's going to get tougher. That's to be expected. And but I like how they're handling things right now with the way, because look, that New York game, despite it being a tough one for New York because of all the games they played, that was a big win. Like what do we always say when the other ones come? That's their problem. And look, that was New York's problem. New York played tough. They just couldn't win the game.
You know this. You don't put that NBA Cup banner up. You don't disrespect that cup. See, the basketball gods, they're going to give you VJ Edgecombe after disrespecting the cup. And
the players did not want to. The players did not want to. We have one more super chat here, Rich. You know what? We're going to table the 2025 calendar year conversation for post game, but let's get Ty Campbell 267 says the Flight Brothers, that was only AI and Larry Hughes. That's it. Yes, we agree. But for the question, we wanted to answer the question. But we agree, only 2 people were a part of that Flight Brothers crew that mattered, and that was Hughes and Iverson in that regard. All right, let's get to the starters here tonight. Starters for your Philadelphia 76ers, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid, your usual starters. In place of VJ Edgecombe and Dominic Barlow, you have Jared McCain. And as Rich pointed out, the other two-way guy, no problem. Jabari Walker just steps right in there. He'll get about 8 rebounds tonight just because he crashes the glass pretty tough. So those are your starters for your Philadelphia 76ers. Right call there, Rich?
Yeah, and I think the way you framed it was right. The two guys who, look, you're going to rely on the big 3. You're going to rely on Tyrese, Joel, and PG in a bigger offensive role than he has been asked to pull in some of these games, I would say, just because of the amount of shot creators that are not playing in tonight's game. But the two guys who I think are huge, the two guys who I think make this game a blowout if they both show up, are the other 2 starters. And that's Jared McCain. We see what we saw over the weekend from him. I think it's probably a blowout. And then Jabari Walker as well. He's totally capable 3-point shooter. Like you said, is just can be a monster for stretches on both the offensive and defensive glass. If you get those 2 guys to show up, professional performances from them, I think you're going to get a win, and you're going to be feeling good on Christmas.
And they're back in black in the black retro uniform, so good to see that. The Nets are going to run out quickly. Yegor Demin, you have Terrence Mann, Michael Porter Jr., Noah Clowney, and Nic Claxton. That's the starting 5 for the Brooklyn Nets. All right, let's get to the Bet365 Pregame picks brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. No Bree. Ethan said, you know what? I'll give Rich a break. Tyrese goes off for 35 tonight. How about that,
Sure.
Rich? From Ethan, 35 plus. And that's a plus 225 from Bet365. So if you like that, you can tell Ethan on that selection. For me, I went with Tyrese Maxey. I went with the 3-pointers tonight. Tyrese Maxey, 4 threes overall. And then you got Noah Clowney, who's a sneaky 3-point maker for the Brooklyn Nets. Like Rich said, we don't watch all games, but we do watch some. And Noah Clowney has been hitting his threes this season. That's a plus 190. If you want to put those together, you can make that into a same-game parlay there at Bet365, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure when you sign up, PHLY365 is the code that you use, courtesy of us here at the PHLY Network and the PHLY Sixers Podcast. All right, that'll do it for us. When we come back, it'll be 10 minutes after the game. And maybe the Sixers, they should be 17-11. I think they should be. Rich agrees.
They should be.
I think Ethan is, with us there as well. And they should be. Last minute Schoolboy, a.k.a. Davon Schoolboy Beats, Super Chat. Wonder why they haven't tried Charles Bassey yet. Not yet.
Because I think they have 3 centers, right?
Yeah, I think they're good. Yeah. And they have all 3 of their centers there tonight, so they don't need them. So we'll be back 10 minutes after the game goes final right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. We hope to see you all then on this Tuesday night. You're all off. You don't have work tomorrow. It's Christmas Eve. You're not going to work. Hang out with us so we can break down the game together, react to it all. Let's discuss it here on the postgame show. So for Rich and Ethan, I'm Devon. We'll catch you after the game right here on the PHLY Sixers Podcast. Enjoy.
We all silly like the mayor.